in the heart of the city. I said, ain't no love in the heart of town. Whoa, what's up? How we feeling? It's Thirsty Thursdays. This is the primetime edition, so by the time you see it, it'll be around 8 o'clock. So, like I always tell you on Thursdays, save a drink for your boy, even if it's just a Fiji water, or it could be a Dasani water, whatever, because sometimes I get a little thirsty. So, Jay-Z, most people know, probably my favorite rapper, at least one of my favorite top 2 or 3 rappers of all time. But he had, for a while now, for a few years, has been trying to get this bid along with Caesar's Palace to come to New York, Times Square. And I haven't been to Times Square in a few years, but the one thing I do know about Times Square is that it's busy. It's very busy. And there are a lot of things going on in Times Square, right? Especially the Broadway circuit, which is a huge thing. It's been around for many, many years. But because I looked it up and I kind of wanted to, be educated myself on it because I don't live in New York and I don't know. Only thing I've seen over maybe the last couple of weeks are residents talking about it, saying that they didn't want it there and just different things like that. So this says Jay-Z's bid for the Caesar's Palace Times Square Casino license was denied by a state commission community advisory committee, primarily due to fierce opposition from the Broadway theater industry and local residents, who probably down there are pretty well off, who feared the casino would negatively affect the theater district and existing districts. All right. So major community concerns, local residents and business owners also opposed to the plan, fearing it would disrupt the neighborhood and draw business away from existing establishments. Now, conversely, Nas had won to be able to go and build a casino in Queens. And once again, I'm not from, of course, either of those boroughs, but what I do think is that Queens is not in the actual center of the city or the hub, like as in Manhattan where Times Square is. And so they probably have more area that they can use that's out, further away from the confines of the inner city. Because for most of you who know, anyone who's been in New York, it is like a gridlock. I used to drive up there a lot, and as opposed to, catching a train or the bus or something like that. And when you get there, it is. You can move around, but it is a lot of gridlock. And it's hard to maneuver driving in the city. So, a lot of times you got to catch the train. I think the last time I went up was maybe that I stayed in New York was maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I caught the train to a game over at the Barclays Squares to see the Brooklyn Nets play. And, it was a really fast thing as opposed to if I were to drive, it may have taken an hour, 45 minutes from Times Square because I actually stayed at a hotel in Times Square. So Jay-Z kind of loses this one, and Nas kind of wins the one because they have voted to go ahead with the casino plans in Queens that Nas has been a part of. But, we always do a little deeper dive into stuff. And you may not remember, but I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about sports betting and gambling in general. And what I feel, because don't get me wrong, I've done it and sometimes still partake in it, so I don't want to sound hypocritical. But it does. I've seen what it does to Atlantic City. I've seen it for years that people go and, you got some people that win, but a lot of people lose a lot of money. A lot of people, regular people like you and I, lose a lot of money that we don't have. And now because it's on our phone, it's even easier to lose. And people, when they're losing money, sometimes they resort to measures that may not be typical of even them. So you say, what do I mean? They start borrowing money from other people. They may do things where they take goods from other people and trade them in or sell them off so that way they can have more money to go and gamble. You see, it's not like when you're on drugs or alcohol, because, hey, a bottle, just for you to get messed up, if you drink the whole bottle might cost you $10, $12, $13. Then you're drunk, you're passed out. Drugs, which is bad also, I'm not making light of that, but may cost you $20, $30. You get high or whatever for a long period of time, and then that's it. At least for that day or a stretch of time period. But have you ever been gambling? Have you ever been on a roulette table? Have you ever bet on a game? At least a game will last about 3 hours. But if you've gone to a casino and bet, you can lose your money just like that. You can lose hundreds, thousands of dollars in less than an hour. In less than 15 minutes. Depending on how you are gambling. You go into the casino, and like I've said before, the best gamblers only win about 62, maybe 63% of the time. And in school, I believe that's still an F. So why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep building these houses, casinos, where people check their money in and the money never checks out? And the only thing that gets checked out are broken souls, are people who feel like, hey, what's going on here? Where's my money at? Oh, let me rush and go and get it back and put it back in. I remember I had this story once upon a time when I was doing Lyft, and I had taken this lady, and she wanted to go, she was at the casino. So, I go past, pick her up, and it was probably about 6 o'clock in the morning. And so it's 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm saying to myself, hey, wow. She was an older lady, older than me, maybe in her 60s. And she was explaining the story to me, and she was telling me how her son had to help her out. She had such a bad addiction to gambling because, of course, you know how it happens. She used to win big. She won $5,000 a couple times, $4,000, whatever. And then what happened was she just went on a losing streak. And I think I talked to you about this in one of mine as far as sports betting. So she went on a losing streak and more and more and more. And she was actually the birthday club person at her job who was holding the money. So each month, somebody's birthday, there were so many of them in it at her job. She said that the pot would be about $4,000. And one month, she blew the whole pot. And had to keep telling the lady in the birthday club, that she had to get the money from here. Said her son had to loan her the money or give her the money so that way she could save face and pay this lady the birthday club, her money from the birthday club. So what am I saying? And these aren't just every now and then stories. Talk to people who go gamble regularly. They're always borrowing money. They're always in need of money. And they're always on edge. The only thing out of all of those things I didn't do was borrow money. But I was always on edge. And you see, these big casinos, they're cute, they're nice. Oh yeah, come on in, have a steak, be a part of the Diamond Club. Like even as I say this to you now, I know it's bad. Hey, one day I'm out, like I said before, it would be contradictory of me because, hey, if FanDuel or somebody came and said, hey, look, Greg, we got $100,000 for you a month, it would be something I'd have to seriously consider. But we're not there at that point yet. And what I want to say right now is that, unfortunately, a lot of times with these casinos, they are taking people's money that don't need to have them taken. So I don't really necessarily feel bad for Jay not getting that casino. He's won a lot in life. I'm sure he'll find somewhere else that he may want to put it because he's one of those kind of guys, he always wants to make like a big grand splash. But, hey, it's the same thing kind of like with the whole Ether thing. He's just going to have to take this loss because those people down there, they weren't having it. And I'm telling you firsthand, just from being here in Philly, hearing about how people follow people home, people rob people at the casinos and stuff like that. Nah. Nah, a lot of times they're not even really needed. But people, how do they say? A fool and his money, because I was once that fool, shall soon part ways. What do you do with your money? Are you a gambler? Do you find yourself at the casino? Do you think that you need help? Well, if you do, reach out to somebody and get help. Because, see, that's the one addiction that's the bad one. Because, see, nobody has infinite money. Nobody's going to keep loaning you money. So when you go into those casinos, whether in person or, like I said, online, your Ben Franklin, your Ulysses S. Grant checks in, but you're the only one that's checking out. So if I said something that resonates with somebody, or somebody that you know who's a gambler, because you got to know when to hold up. And you know what else you got to do? And that's why you got to stop gambling. So that way you can live life. Don't let life live you.